Welcome back to the Rookie and the Vet podcast. We're getting into these summer months. Not a lot going on. No high school sports anymore. Those concluded last weekend. Yeah. But Illinois football around the corner, sort of. We're in the month of June. Hopefully we see more from them going through the summer months heading into September.
Well, Brett Bielema apparently had a very big recruiting 48 hours here recently. 9 new recruits coming in. The man's doing work, it seems like. And, you know, he's continuing to do his thing, building more of this recruiting pipeline in the state of Illinois and kind of spreading out from there. But, I mean, going to have a lot of depth, it seems like.
Yeah.
And especially with some of those vacated positions that we had with the NFL draft, especially in that defensive secondary. We'll see what the defense is going to offer up this year, but you got a lot to choose from. It seems like some very good talent's been coming in. And, I mean, the question is, how are they going to do this year?
Yeah, and adding on to that, big part of those, those big name in quotes, recruits coming in is having that winning culture finally. I mean, it's been years since Illinois has been in a bowl game. I think it was 2019 was the last time before this year they were in a bowl game. And before that, maybe like 2016 maybe. So there's not many years where they have a winning record. So him being able to establish that this past year, it only does you wonders in recruiting.
Yeah. And so it seems like this new recruit that he actually picked up out of, I think it was Ohio, defensive line guy, is putting his own recruiting cap on and saying, come to Illinois now, like stop waiting and like just get on this train. And I mean, good on that young man too. 'Cause that's what you want, is you want players that you have that chemistry with. You can build kind of a family, which is the big thing with Illinois. But, I mean, if he can bring more talent with him over here, I'm all for that.
And that's what happens with a lot of players. You see it more in basketball because of AAU circuits, but where people start bringing in friends they know that are also high recruits and people they've met along the way and, like, let's team up and let's go play college ball together.
Yeah.
So hopefully it does good things for Illinois. But heading into this season, I mean, they got a tough schedule this year.
Yeah,
it was tough last year.
It was tough last year.
They were able to do well,
especially with Michigan on the schedule last year and towards the end of the year in a very close game. And I do think that really spoke to how good that Illinois squad was. I mean, if they would have beat Michigan in that game, Big Ten title probably would have been.
It could have been in that game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're starting off the season with 2 out-of-conference... Well, technically 3 out-of-conference opponents in the first 4 games.
Yeah.
And I think we saw that last year because they played Wyoming, Chattanooga...
Virginia.
And Virginia. Those were 3 out-of-conference games to start the year, which they handle business in all of them.
Yep.
This year you do have Toledo at the top of the schedule. Toledo's D1AA, D1AA, I believe, where they play in the FCS championship with like South Dakota State, North Dakota State. But I mean, they're a team that has beat Division I teams before.
Yeah,
they're one of the top teams in that lower end of Division I, and they're able to really compete. They might give Illinois a run for their money. That's first game of the year in Champaign too, so it's going to be at Memorial Stadium.
Yeah,
and I'm sure.
And I do think the games where they have at home this year are definitely can go in their favor with that home crowd advantage as well. Illinois Memorial Stadium is always super packed. Not a ton of visitors that I noticed too much from some of the games I went to last year, but
I think it just depends on who they're playing.
Right.
Because there was a good crowd against Purdue.
Right.
It was really cold, but there's a good crowd against Purdue because obviously it's only 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. But the crowd is growing.
Right.
People are excited about football because they're winning again.
Yes.
And you saw as the year went on last year, the numbers were going up. They were also doing sales to get the numbers up.
Right.
And I think it's only going to improve this year. What's tough is, though, I guess you don't have those big recognizable faces like last year with Chase Brown, Sidney Brown.
Yep.
I mean, Witherspoon towards the end of the year, where like people love. I mean, people are going to find players they love this year.
Right.
But like I think Chase Brown gave people something to be excited about.
Definitely. I mean, he was electric in the running game. I think you're just going to have to find brand new faces to fall in love with this year. Once you see what they're putting out there on the field, you're going to be saying, that's my guy. That's the jersey I want to go and get and rep at all the games this year.
Yeah. So I think that could be maybe Luke Altmaier, a quarterback. Maybe it's tough for D linemen to kind of be that face, but you have Johnny Newton, Keith Randolph on that defensive line, Matthew Bailey in the secondary, an Illinois native. But yeah, people find their guy and hopefully bring in more people in the crowd.
And Johnny Newton seems to kind of feel a little bit snubbed on his rankings right now. Because he was ranked like number 1 in the Big Ten or something, but then like nationally he's at like number 11 in his position. But
yeah, I mean he could be a first round pick this year. That's where a lot of mock drafts have him. But I saw he was also adding on to that. Somebody had posted like the top defenses heading into this next year, and Illinois wasn't on the list, and he was offended by that.
Yeah,
I mean,
gives him fuel to take into those games, and I mean they were the top defense in college football last year. 12.7 points per game allowed, and again we lost a lot of those key guys to the draft, but now we're gonna have to get new key guys to come in, fill those roles, but I would love to see that lockdown defense come back. Obviously, they're doing wonders at practice and developing those guys. So I think, again, it kind of rests on what the offense is going to be able to put up. The numbers were okay last year. I think DeVito only had 15 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah, he did put up really many special numbers. Chase Brown.
Yeah, 10 touchdowns for Chase Brown. 1,600 yards. So, gotta fill that running back spot. New quarterback. Would love to see, a good air raid offense.
I think it's gonna be there's gonna be much more emphasis on the pass game this year compared to last year.
Okay,
that's what I'm excited about.
Why do you say that? Because
Luke Altmaier is at quarterback.
Okay.
I would also say because Chase Brown's not a running back.
True.
They do have Reggie Love. They have. I'm blanking on their other running back, but it's going to be a big committee this year. But it's a good committee. I mean, Reggie Love can easily be the number 1, but I think they have a good running back group where they're able to kind of rely on multiple guys. And I just think, the wide receiver group isn't the best in the world, but you do have Isaiah Williams, Pat Bryant, and...
I'm excited about those freshmen that are coming in, honestly.
Yeah. And Elzy. I mean... He's going to be huge. I think he's going to be an impactful player in his freshman year.
Hopefully.
But yeah, I'm excited about the offense. I mean, they're going to be able to throw this year. I mean, not that DeVito couldn't throw, but it was just clear Illinois thrived on the run game.
Right. And that was, offense kind of ran through Chase Brown. So, all right.
The next game interests me. It intrigues me.
Kansas?
Yeah.
It's a basketball school.
It is a basketball school. They started off the season really well. I think they started 6-0 or something like that.
Well, then they lost 7 straight?
And then they lost 7 straight to end the year. It was something like that. Maybe they were like 5-1 or something. I remember because they were ranked. I think they might have been ranked higher than Illinois.
Really?
At one point.
See, I don't pay attention to those kind of schools.
Yep. And then I remember they lost to maybe Arkansas. And things kind of just went downhill from there.
Got it.
Once they lost their first game, everything went downhill. But I will say, I don't know if you watched their bowl game. It was one of the best bowl games I've ever watched. That's the game against Arkansas I'm thinking of. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, yes.
One of our coworkers went to that.
Kansas, yes.
Yeah.
She was at the game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that was the one down in what? Memphis or Nashville?
Maybe it was Memphis. Because I know Iowa had... It was Memphis, yep. That was one of the craziest bowl games I've ever watched. And the way it ended, I remember it was like... I think the game ended like 68, 65 or something.
It was a high-scoring game.
It was something
I remember the highlights, but I didn't watch that.
Yeah, because I think Kansas was down like 25 heading in the fourth quarter or something like that. They came back. It was insane. And then Arkansas just ended up winning in like triple or like quadruple overtime.
All right. Before we go too far, let's go back to Toledo.
They'll win.
Win or lose.
They'll win.
Score prediction?
42-14.
Only 2 touchdowns?
If they even get above 14.
I was going to say 38-13.
Well, that's fair. I thought Chattanooga was going to put up more points last year against Illinois' defense, and they got shut out.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that was like 38-0. Because Chattanooga had a really good offense last year. I mean, they're an FCS.
I want to say maybe they got 1 field goal.
It could have been near the end or something like that, but
now I'm curious to what it was.
Illinois will be able to handle business against Toledo, and if they don't, that is a huge red flag to open up the season.
Yeah, 31-0.
Yeah.
All right, the 3 points was against Virginia.
Yep.
But yeah.
That was early in the game too. I remember because they might have taken the 3, or maybe it was like 7-3, and then. But yeah, I think they take care of Toledo, and they should take care of Kansas. Kansas does have a very mobile quarterback where they're able to really change up their offense. He's not bad. He's not a bad quarterback. But Illinois should be able to take care of business against Kansas. Kansas, too.
Yeah, in Lawrence.
Yep.
And so, I mean, the number 3 game on the schedule here in Champaign, I think this is going to be probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, games of the year for them. And this is really going to test them early is Penn State coming in.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be a tough one.
And they were 11-2 last year.
Penn State's good.
They'll
never... They can't get over the hump of a Big Ten championship appearance.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're really good every year. Their offense is great. I've not been a fan of their quarterbacks for, the last, 5 years.
Right.
But their offense has been solid. They've produced really good wide receivers. Their defense has been really good. They almost beat Ohio State. They give Ohio State a run for their money, but weren't able to do it. Penn State's going to be good. That's going to be their toughest matchup. But I think Purdue's going to be that golden game kind of thing because it's Purdue and Ryan Walters going to Purdue. It's going to be their biggest game in quotes kind of thing.
And that was the game that knocked them out of contention pretty much for the Big Ten.
If they would have won that game, they would have been in the Big Ten championship game. It just kind of went downhill after there because they lost to Michigan State, lost to Michigan. Things just kind of took a turn for the worse. I think Illinois loses that game, if I'm being honest.
What, you think it's going to be a high-scoring game, or you think it's going to be really defensive stand and 13-10 or something is our final score?
I think what I said for Toledo could be reversed for Penn State. It might be a Penn State 40-13 game. I think just Penn State's very explosive going against an Illinois team like this. Illinois would need their offense on the top of their game. There can be no mistakes.
So you think they need to really fine-tune through Toledo, through Kansas, and take that into the Penn State game?
Yeah.
Because that's what, the Fox big college game day?
At their noon kickoff or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a tough game for Illinois to start off the season. You wish that kind of game was later in the season.
Yeah. Where
they can start off really well and carry momentum. Flying into the game, kind of like they hoped Michigan was going to be, but they ended up going into that game, I think, on a 2-game losing streak or something.
If I remember correctly. Yeah, because it was Michigan State that kind of started that.
Yep, and
then Purdue.
Purdue, yeah.
But I mean, again, that Michigan game was close.
It was.
If we had a do-over, I think
they
would have won that.
So they need to come out on the top of their game to take down Penn State.
All right,
that'll be tough.
Florida Atlantic, I'm not concerned about them whatsoever.
They don't have Lane Kiffin anymore. It's not the offense. Basketball, okay, but football, no. It should be a walk in the park for Illinois. Should be.
Score? 42-10?
Yeah, probably.
All right.
That'll probably be a blowout. Should be. So that means they're starting off season 3. I mean, depending on what you think about that Penn State game, that's probably a 3-1 start.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I would love to see them kick Penn State's ass.
Of course.
Yeah, probably 3-1 through the first 4 weeks.
Yeah. I
don't know.
Yeah. I say 3-1 through the first 4 games.
Penn State's a good football team, like you said.
They're well coached too.
That's the big thing. Is I can't think of any shining star on that team right now.
I would have given you an even worse margin of victory if that game was at Penn State.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, it's tough to go into Happy Valley.
It's very tough to go there and win a game.
Right.
I had a friend that went there. Those games are insane.
The whiteout games?
Just the whiteout games. Their stadium's huge. I'm pretty sure it fits like maybe 60,000. I might be wrong, but it's insane because it's so many levels. But yeah, but then the big game after Florida Atlantic would be Purdue.
Yeah. I think they take Purdue out.
Yeah, I think it'd be a close game. I think they win it. Purdue losing Aiden O'Connell at quarterback's a little tough for them. I mean, not tough for them.
Didn't they lose that big wide receiver who had like their school record or some sort of a record with catches for a season?
Yeah, him and O'Connell were a great combination.
And I mean, in the Big Ten championship game, that was all that quarterback threw to. Mm-hmm. And so once Michigan kind of had that figured out, but
they're bringing back Maccabee too at running back, who's really good. He's a bigger running back. He's kind of just able to run over guys. But then, as I mentioned, Ryan Walters at the head coaching position. I mean, he's a huge reason for Illinois' success defensively last year.
Right.
Definitely a huge success. A huge part of that success. So I mean, they're going to be good. It's in West Lafayette, so you're at Purdue, not at Memorial Stadium this year. You're going on the road. I'm pretty sure that's an ESPN game. It's either ESPN or ABC. It depends on when it's flexed to. Yep. So that'll be a big primetime game. Illinois, I think they'll win, but I think it's going to be really close. I would say maybe a field goal determines that game.
Okay.
Hopefully.
High score, low score?
Low score. I think that'll be maybe like, I was going to say like 17-20.
Okay.
Maybe.
I would have said 17-14.
That's fair. I was just thinking 3 points somewhere, either way. But, yeah, give me 4-1 start for Illinois.
Okay. All right, then Nebraska, I mean...
Should be a win.
Yeah, they're not the black shirts of old. Definitely. Mm-hmm. And they just got rid of their head coach at...
Yep. It's, who's coming in now is Matt Rule. He was the head coach of the Panthers. Before that, he was with Baylor. But yeah, they got rid of Scott Frost.
I mean, first-year coaches coming in.
Yeah, he did land some good recruits in the portal, though.
Okay.
Decent, but I don't think it's, like, groundbreaking. That should be a win.
Don't even get me... Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 years.
I don't want to get started on the portal on college football because then I'll go down to the Colorado tangent and Deion Sanders.
Yeah, it'll be a 5-1 start for them.
All right.
But the next one is, I think... So they play Maryland October 14th. This is a game that I think is going to be a... What's the word? I want to say like a slip-up in the schedule where they're going to kind of overlook this game. I just have a bad feeling seeing Maryland on the schedule. They've had games last year where they just exploded offensively because they have Tualia Tagovailoa.
Tua's little brother.
Yeah. I'm almost positive he's still there. I just think that game... I forget... a trap game, kind of. That's what I was thinking. I just feel like that's a trap game for them. Going into Maryland, College Park, taking on the Terrapins. I don't know. I just see it as a trap game for them.
I know. Yeah, and it's tough to really judge them as well. I mean, they're decent. Same record as Illinois last year. Mm-hmm. I always see it as a lacrosse school. Usually one of the top programs. But, I mean, like you said, football, they're either putting up massive points on people or they're just not doing much of anything.
Yep. We could act like it's all sunshine and rainbows and they start this whole season like 9-1.
Sure.
But there's going to be a game in there. That could be the Michigan State game that was last year.
Okay.
So for me, I start them off at 5-2 after that Maryland game. I don't know if you're taking them to win, but I would take them to fall in that one.
Okay. I mean, yeah, again, it's tough to be like, yep, they're losing, but especially against a team like Maryland.
I get it.
It's tough to kind of judge that at this point in time.
I get it.
I'll go 6-1 right now.
All right.
Then we go to Wisconsin, here at home.
Mm-hmm. I think they win it.
Yeah.
I think they played extremely well against Wisconsin last year. Wisconsin didn't make any huge improvements in the portal. They did bring in a new head coach. I don't know, I'm blanking on who it is. But they did bring in a new head coach. Oh, it's guy from Cincinnati. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Coached the Bearcats to a college football playoff game. I mean, they were undefeated. He took over that job. But it's at Illinois, homecoming. Illinois should be able to take care of business.
I think so, too. I mean, again, new head coach always seem to have kind of struggles and getting all the team on the same page of what their game plan is. So I'm with you on that. So I'm at 7-1 right now.
Yep.
Penn State, the only loss on my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Then Minnesota in Minnesota.
Should be a win. They lost Tanner Morgan. He was their quarterback. He was there for like 20 years, it felt like. They should be able to take care of business.
Okay.
That's 7-2 for me.
Okay. I'll go 8-1.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana, 4-8 last year.
Yeah.
But
I would love
they
to.
beat Illinois last year.
They did. Illinois should have won that game, too. That was a really bad loss for them. That's another game where...
And that was early on in the season, too, last year.
That was his first game of the season? Maybe second game of the season.
First game was Wyoming.
Yeah, so second game of the season. Because I remember that was the day I moved here. It was like September 1st.
Yep.
And maybe the second. But it's so tough.
I think they smoke Indiana.
They should.
Again, that's a basketball school.
They 100% should be Indiana. When you look at it, and I mean, that's a game that I think could be a trap game, but I think Illinois takes care of business.
Yeah. I just don't see Indiana coming out of that, especially at that point in the season.
Yep.
I think a lot of things are going to be very ingrained. The offense is going to be on a roll. You know, the team's just going to be clicking at that point in the season.
Yeah.
But that's also the point in the season last year where they kind of just started to decline a little bit.
100%.
So, again, I like it as a victory.
Okay.
I think it should, I'd say 31-14. I don't know.
Okay.
Give Indiana 2 touchdowns.
That'll do. Yeah. I mean, they should win. Hopefully they win, but I think it's a game where Indiana's probably going to play them close. But we'll see. I mean, I take them to win, but it puts them at 8-2 for me.
Okay.
Heading into those final 2 games a year. This is the game where I'd love to give Illinois the credit against Iowa, heading into Iowa. But this is where I think Illinois falls. Iowa holds teams on offense while they're on defense. So that was poorly explained. They just have a great defense every single year.
Yeah.
Iowa has McNamara coming in from Michigan, and I think their offense is going to be a lot better this year, where in so many years past, it's just their defense carrying them. But Iowa's a good team.
Yeah. I mean, again, I hate to give them a loss, but I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
It is always a tough defense. Offense, kind of hit or miss for them usually. But it's in Iowa.
Which is tough.
It is tough. So, all right, I'll go second loss on the season with game at Iowa.
And I have them at 8-3 after that Iowa game.
So 9-2 for me.
Heading into Northwestern, which should be a win.
Easy dub.
Yeah, they killed them last year. I think it was like 48-3 maybe. It was
I'd almost say
yeah.
Take a touchdown off the board. Let's say 42-3 or 42-0 or something like that.
That should be an easy game in Champaign too. It's a rivalry technically game for Illinois, and with that, depending on how things line up, that should be a spot in the Big Ten championship for them.
I mean, I still, based on what we've been talking about, we're talking 2 to 3 losses on the season. So
hopefully,
I mean, that would put us on par with, teams that were in that title race last year for Big Ten. And are we eliminating the East-West this season?
So
or
not
is that
this
till
season.
2024?
That'll be next season.
Okay.
They're going to eliminate the conference, the sides. Not sure exactly. I believe it'll be the top 2 teams in the conference. A lot of people have been calling for that for recent years because they want to see like Ohio State, Michigan in the Big Ten championship because people are sick of seeing, the team from the West who's definitely not as good play a team like Michigan or Ohio State and get blown out every year. They'd rather have that big game to decide who's going to the college football playoffs, basically.
And that is because of the addition of UCLA and USC?
That's a big part of it. With scheduling, it's just tough to... Would you put them in the West, and then you're having team... I don't know.
I think you'd... Yeah, I mean, if they weren't going to eliminate it, you definitely have to restructure a little bit. But, I mean, one thing I think is going to play to the advantage of teams on the East Coast or some of our more Midwest teams in the Big Ten is these guys coming from California are going to be very jet lagged. And honestly, I don't think UCLA or USC are going to fare well in the Big Ten their first couple seasons. I mean, yeah, Chip Kelly isn't going to have the offense that he's kind of had at UCLA the last couple of years. Pac-12, started to kind of lean back to the South once again. Stanford's not great, but USC was back up there this year. But now you've got Utah, you've got Washington, Oregon's always in that conversation too. And now you take those two teams out, add the travel in. They're playing the Michigans, the Ohio States. And again, going coast to coast, I just don't see those players playing on Saturday morning and being at 100%.
Yeah. And that's why they talked about pool conference, I don't know what you call it, divisions within the conference, where it was like UCLA, USC, maybe Iowa, kind of the closest teams to them, where that's the majority of what they'd play. But it's still, you're going halfway across the country.
I was still a few-hour plane ride,
Yeah, so...
And that's the closest team to them.
Yep. But they ended up deciding on basically just eliminating the conferences.
Actually, I take that Nebraska would be the closest team, but...
And then Wisconsin, but still far away.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of... They were talking about that, didn't end up going with it. So, eliminating the conference. Illinois is going to begin that 2024 season with a matchup against USC. They'll take on USC in the 2024 season. Then 2025, they'll take on UCLA. So you're not going to go out there twice in 1 year. I was curious if they were going to kind of make teams go back-to-back, so they're playing USC, then UCLA, and staying in the California area.
Sure.
So that, you're not traveling back and going there. But it looks like they're just going to do one game with each team per year for Illinois and whatnot. But a big game next year, too, to keep an eye out on Ohio State. They're going to Ohio State to take on the Buckeyes, Illinois, that is. And then 2025, Ohio State's coming to Illinois. That'll be an exciting game.
Yeah.
Bringing in a big powerhouse like that.
And you hate to think about what's going to happen or where they're going to be at, if it's going to be an embarrassment, or what Illinois is going to look like at that point in time. I mean, we're talking 2 years away.
Well, next year... Well, yeah, technically 2 years away. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, a lot to build on.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot that's going to be different with
I'm sure they've got that already marked on the calendar. I bet Brett Bielema has that day circled.
And I failed to mention in 2024, too, they're playing Michigan. In the same season, they're playing Ohio State.
Oof.
That's two huge matchups where, that could be 2 losses on your schedule right away.
Yeah.
Which is a tough pill to swallow. If you're, trying to get, especially since, I forget which year they're starting the college football playoffs. I don't know if it's 2024 or 2025.
That it goes to 12?
Yeah, it goes 12 teams. Because if you're an Illinois team...
I think it's 2024.
It could be.
So it would be... this next season.
Well, the year after. So I think it's the 2024, 2025 season.
Okay.
It might be that.
I always get confused when they just throw a year on it, because that's are we talking our end year into that new year, or are we talking the start of the season?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So, have to look that up again. But, again, that Michigan game last year against Blake Corum... I think, but again, I don't know. There's a lot to speculate on. So we'll see. We'll have to address that once we get a little bit closer.
Yeah, once we get closer. What I will add to UCLA is that'll be at home, too. for the 2025 season. Should be cool. Bringing in new teams to Memorial Stadium. Just seeing those. I mean, UCLA is, I guess, a historic football program. So, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
But, yeah. They'll do it this week on Rookie in the Vet with Darren Leeds and Dante Furco.
We should have some I think we've got Brett Bielema. You're meeting with him next week?
Yeah, they're doing some media availability for that. So we'll finally hear from him.
So I'll be interested to see, what he's got to say, because this is going to be the first time we've talked to him since the end of last year.
Yeah, I feel like he hasn't really talked to the media much since maybe the last national signing day. That might have been the last time we heard from him.
I'll have to give you some questions I want you to ask.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's a lot on all these new guys coming in. How they're shaping this offense this summer. I mean, we saw a little bit in the spring, but we didn't get a lot because we didn't get a scrimmage. They did a scrimmage, but it wasn't much.
And I called that. I said it was going to get postponed, severe thunderstorm activity. Mm-hmm. So, I think it kind of was a little bit of a letdown. But
so we'll see what he has to say.
So, that's coming up next week. So, definitely want to tune in for that.
Yeah, well, I'll do it on Ricky and the Vet. Make sure to follow us on our Twitters. Check us out on all podcast streaming platforms. Also, you can watch the video on YouTube if you're not already watching on that already. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.